Parliamentary Budget Officer report is in my hands. Page 3 of a distributional analysis of the federal fuel charge under the 2030 emissions reduction plan. Google it. Look it up. It's on the Parliamentary Budget Officer's website. You don't have to believe me, and you certainly don't want to believe him. Go look for yourself. The average Ontario family will pay $1,674 in carbon taxes next year. That's $630 more than they get back in rebates. So why doesn't the Prime Minister Google it, look up the report, check the facts, and X the tax?
Google it.
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the first and basic conclusion.
I love
The
it.
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the first conclusion of the Parliamentary Budget Officer is, in the math, on the face of it, 8 out of 10 families get more back through the price on pollution, through the Canada carbon rebate. The reality is, if one wants to talk about longer-term and broader economic consequences of a price on pollution, you have to talk about the cost of inaction. You have to talk about the benefits of investing and innovating in carbon reduction technologies. That's the full picture that the Leader of the Opposition doesn't want to look at, because he doesn't think you can build a strong economy and fight climate change at the same time.
No, but the thing is that we cannot afford to sacrifice the amount of time and resources that your current. That's what I'm trying to say. The current amount of resources that are being put into long-term projects doesn't make sense. Things need to be allocated, distributed much more differently.
We need pipelines, not windmills and bullshit solar panels. That's what we need. We need to be able to get our oil to the market, to the refineries, and be able to use it to heat our homes, right? Or power cars, power the economy, right? Like if you looked at, for example, what was in 2022, I think, or 2023 maybe, in Texas, when they had the that crazy weather, like it went from 40 degrees to like -5.
Yeah.
Everything froze up and they had blackouts. Why? Because they depended on the smart energy grid, on renewable sources. Like, come on, bro. It's nonsense. And even if you look at all these renewable resources like the windmills and all this crap, you know what happens to the windmills and the solar panels after? They bury them. That's all they do to them. They bury them. They don't even recycle them. Why? Because it's not worth it. So they pump it. They cost so much money. They make us pay more taxes, and then they throw them out and they bury them. And then while they bury them, all those metals leak into the soil, and then they destroy the soil. So they're destroying the environment. So they're doing the opposite of what they're telling us they're doing with these renewables.
I mean, just by the way his personal, I mean, great points like all around, but just by the way his personal life goes, just by the way he lives his life, he doesn't really care about the environment and all this, bro.
This guy spent 12 grand on groceries, bro. What care about the environment?
I mean, apparently he spent like his already like what is it? Just his trips alone on a yearly basis. I read some crazy stat I was mentioning earlier. Is like enough to damage the environment a certain, or just more than like hundreds of thousands of people or some shit like that. I don't know.
He should be paying the carbon tax for all Canadians. That's what he should be paying.
Yeah, I mean, he can afford it, right?
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, he's doing neither at the same time. Mr. Speaker, the parliamentary budget, first of all, I should catch that word. He said, on the face of it. The tax is terrific. Well, the parliamentary budget officer actually did the calculation of the full fiscal and economic cost for the average family. And he found that every family in the middle class is worse off under the carbon tax. For example,
did you hear what the heckler said?
That was Trudeau heckling.
That was Trudeau. Oh, that was Trudeau heckling, eh?
I'm pretty sure. Sounded like him. Sounded like a female.
Let's just go back.
Is worse off
under
the carbon tax. For example, in Ontario, the net cost for the average family above and beyond rebates is $627 this year. How are they going to pay for that?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, families in Ontario are going to be getting a Canada carbon rebate worth $1,120 this year. That's a family of 4. A family in Nova Scotia, $824. A family in Saskatchewan, $1,500 this coming year. And that is more for 8 out of 10 families than the price on pollution actually is. We are fighting climate change. We are innovating and creating jobs of tomorrow. And we're putting more money in the pockets of Canadians, checks that leader of the opposition would take away.
So wait, so I guess flying all those planes and using all that fuel, which harms the environment, is saving the environment. But then us paying money for money that's been devalued by what, 20%, 30% since they printed money to shut down our economy because of a sniffle.
$600 billion, bro.
Prove it. What's our debt now? 2 trillion? We're heading to 4 trillion in the next few years, I think.
Dude, this guy printed $600 billion, and that was what caused all the inflation. And the fact
and the carbon tax.
And well, and remember, that's just part of his agenda. That's just his cover up for it. It feels like at this point. Like, I mean, what else can we say?
He's a globalist stooge. That's, at the end of the day, that's what he is, right? He's working with the people around the world that want to control everything. They want to control the governments. People aren't talking even about the new United Nations Health Resolution that they're joining with the WHO. People should take a look at that, because these unaccountable, unelected bureaucrats are actually going to be determining our lives. And I don't want anybody in Geneva, Switzerland, or Basel or wherever telling me what to do with my life. I mean, nobody tells me what to do anyways, but you know what I'm saying? Like, it's people like this are the problem as to why Canada has become what it's become. And mind you, Canada's a great country. I'm not bashing the country. I think, it's provided a lot of people with a lot of opportunities.
I mean, we
My
live
grandparents
here.
came here. We live here. Like, there's a lot of positive about this country, but from what I have seen, as from a kid growing up till now as a grown man, Canada's not what it was. Canada is nothing like it was. It was a much better country before this clown got into office.
No, and if there's any people that haven't been here that are watching this, or I mean, look, my father came here back in the 70s, and same thing, and our parents immigrated here for a reason, because this country was the bee's knees. It was the country to be in, one of the top, and we and Canadians know this already. So it feels like such a drastic fall. What you were telling me a stat, Jello, a few days ago about how it's going to be like 30 years before we can fix this shit.
Yeah, it's going to take a couple generations. And another thing is too, is like a lot of new Canadians that I'm meeting, like, they're leaving. They came here, got their papers, they're leaving. They're like, rent this, they can't afford it, Yeah. Like, I know I met a guy who worked full time. He has a degree from school and works as a security guard, and he doesn't even have his own rental, his apartment. He literally rents a room for like $1,500 and $1,200 a month.
Nasty, man.
Like, how are you supposed to live out like that? You can't,
You can't. Okay.
The Honourable Leader of the